Hey everybody, welcome. My breakdown of UFC 235. I said in the pre-fight breakdown that a lot of these fights could be really one-sided, and they were. Let's start off. Robbie Lawler versus Ben Askren. Robbie Lawler was Robbie Lawler in it, man. Landing big punches, cut him up, beat him up. Then Ben Askren starts getting his game going, starts getting into wrestling range, got a takedown, starts putting pressure on him. They get in a scramble. He gets a Bulldog choke. And a couple things I need to talk about with this one. My first one is, his right arm drops. He puts his arm down. And Herb Dean reaches for his arm. The whole point of reaching for the arm is you lift it up, and if it's limp or it drops, the guy's out. He lifts up Robbie's arm, and Robbie's arm keeps moving, indicating he's okay, and Herb steps in and stops the fight. When his arm had dropped, and Herb Dean steps in and just goes, it's over, okay, I would have understood that. For Herb to grab his arm and then ignore the results of grabbing the arm, why would you even do that at all? Just wave off the fight. His arm dropped, okay, I think he's out, you wave off the fight, Robbie wasn't out, obviously, but the idea that it's like sticking your toe in a cold pool and then jumping in. Oh, it's freezing. Why did you stick your foot in there if you weren't testing to see if it was cold? It was just, I couldn't fathom it. Also, I did the post-fight show on SiriusXM with Dan Hardy, and we were talking about the stoppage of the fight. And I've heard this from a lot of people, that they believe Robbie was in the Bulldog choke, that the arm dropping meant he went out, and he adjusted the choke, and Robbie woke up again. The Bulldog choke, the physics of the Bulldog choke, are the same as a rear naked choke. It constricts the jugular and the carotid, both sides, okay? Blood's not going into the brain, blood's not leaving the brain. In an instance like that, if you're going in and out with a Bulldog choke, first off, it's mostly just out. But if you go in and out with a Bulldog choke, you don't hop up like Robbie Lawler hopped up. You don't. In 20 years of jiu-jitsu, my experience, any choke that attacks both sides, if you're lucky enough to kind of be with and get out, you're hazy for a second. You're in guard going, okay, if I sit up too fast, I'm going to pass out. You're literally taking a few seconds just to kind of get your bearings. Robbie hopped right to his feet, was arguing clear-eyed. That is not the case. If the arm had meant he went out, and then he wakes up again, and they stop the fight, he does not just pop back to his feet okay. If you pop back to his feet like that, and he had just passed out from a Bulldog choke, you just pass out again. If you jump to your feet and start arguing that quickly, you're going to do one of these. And he didn't. He was clear-eyed. He was focused. He was intelligently arguing with Herb Dean, like, what the hell? You don't hop up like that if you were just going in and out from a choke on both sides. Doesn't work that way. So in my experience, Robbie, to the people who say, oh, Robbie was in and out, and he was out, and Herb Dean was right to stop the fight, you don't pop up like that from a blood choke on both sides. Now, that's taking nothing away from Ben Askren. Ben Askren, after the fight, said, I'm not the referee. It's not my job to stop a fight, to keep a fight going. So, taking nothing away from Ben Askren, he didn't stop the fight, but it was a bad stoppage. Ben, what did we learn about Ben? Ben can take a shot. Ben will dive for a single leg from across the octagon. We already knew that. Loves the scramble, obviously dangerous on the ground. Did we learn a whole lot? Maybe we learned a lot about his chin. I hadn't seen him get rocked like that before. Robbie was landing some bombs. That tendency to dive is going to catch up to him eventually. We'll see if it does. But controversial stoppage. Hate seeing that. It's just, sucks. It sucks to see a bad stoppage, and that's what happened. Because Ben was coming back. Ben was starting to impose his game, and we're starting to see what he could do, and everything got cut short. I don't like that at all. But one-sided, then one-sided. Very interesting. And then the story to me of the night was Kamaru Usman over Tyron Woodley. And what's interesting about it is Kamaru Usman looked great, but he fought like Kamaru Usman. He didn't do anything where you would, oh, wow, I can't believe he did that. Hands really high, tight with his striking, always moving forward, great wrestling, great takedown defense. It looked like Kamaru Usman. A great version of his, it looked fantastic. But he fought like Kamaru Usman, and that to me was the interesting thing for Tyron Woodley. When you fight an Anderson Silva, John Jones, any of these creative type fighters, It's like you study for a Russian history test and you show up and it's on Greek history. Whoa, I'm not ready for any of these questions. You might know something about Greek history, but I didn't expect this kind of challenge. That wasn't the case. That was so kind of surprising to me. Is Tyron Woodley fought a Kamaru Usman who fought like Kamaru Usman and didn't seem to have any answers for his style. Now, Kamaru Usman looked great, but it didn't look like it was someone else. Kamaru Usman fought with a style he had fought with before, and Tyron Woodley had no answers at all. He looked flat. He looked defensive. He was backpedaling the whole time. Now, people have said, that's kind of how he looked against Shields. That's how he looked against Rory McDonald, and that's understandable. But Rory McDonald had a lot of offensive options and kind of chose to fight a pressure fight. And Tyron Woodley might not have been prepared for that kind of a fight. Against Kamaru Usman, who fights that way all the time, you would imagine he would have had some answer for that game plan. He had none. Got taken down, got ragdolled, manhandled. I mean, it was a one-sided blowout the entire time. At least one 10-8 round. The second round's 10-8 to me, for sure. At least one 10-8 round in there, if not two. Just wiped the floor with him. Absolutely wiped the floor with him. And I said my pre-fight that, you get old in one fight. Is this a fight where Tyron Woodley just got old? Where everything kind of caught up to him at the same time. He looked flat. It could just be a bad performance once. But, man, Usman all over him. All over him. Now it's going to be Colby Covington next. It's going to be interesting because stylistically they're very, very similar. But momentum is on the side of Kamaru Usman. I mean, I'll break it down as they announce it and the dates and it gets closer and everything, but Usman looked absolutely phenomenal the entire fight, and Tyron Woodley didn't look like Tyron Woodley at all. Not at all. I was actually a little wondering now, bear in mind, I was on SiriusXM at the time. I watch it in the office at SiriusXM, but I have my headphones on to talk to my producer. So I watch it on my iPad, but I don't hear the audio. Unless they're doing something with the audio at SiriusXM. So I was kind of interested at the end of the fourth round because I couldn't hear what the coaches were saying. I would have said, if I'm Dean Thomas, you got to show me something. You got to show me something, or that towel's going in here. At the end of the fourth round, he looked defeated. Absolutely defeated. And I was wondering, is Dean Thomas saying, look, you got to show me something, dude. You got to show me you belong in here because you're just taking a beating for no reason. Not a fight-ending kind of beating, but where you use that motivational tactic of, dude, show me something, man. This is it. So, Kamaru Usman, absolute wipeout. Great performance. He deserves to be champion. Great stuff. And then, Jon Jones, Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, great accounting of himself. Showed he deserved to be there. Solid, no huge gaps. It was an all-time great fighter taking on a really good fighter. That's what happened. I mean, how many good boxers did Sugar Ray Robinson just demolish? How many good boxers, great boxers did Muhammad Ali demolish? It's just, there's really good and there's great. And Jon Jones is great. What I liked about it too is in the last couple of fights, Jon Jones has fought very smart. He's fought very tight. He's fought very tactical. He's fought very kind of defense first and taken apart. High IQ in his last two fights. We haven't seen the craziness and all this stuff. It's been kind of like pick you apart. I think he went hard for the finish. I think it was round 4. And then after that, in round 5, it was kind of like, okay, probably not going to finish this guy. I'll just finish it out. Smart, mature performance. Of course, the knee on the ground, not smart. And Anthony Smith deserves a ton of credit for that. I would argue 90% of fighters in his position take the no contest or DQ. They just go, and I've seen it a million times, personally, on every level, where someone's getting their ass kicked, they take an illegal shot, and they're like, I'm out of here. I'll take, even if it's a no contest, you don't get a win, Why take another round of beating if you don't have to? Remember, it's the end of the fourth round. You still have one more round to go. Why take another round of beating if you don't have to? And maybe you get a no contest, and you yik-yak, and maybe get a rematch or something like that, and Anthony Smith didn't take that way out. Kept fighting. He deserves a lot of credit for that, because no knock on the fighters that would do that. It makes sense. Take the no contest, maybe get a rematch, blah, 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 blah. Anthony Smith didn't do that. So for that alone, the guy deserves a ton of credit. But Mark Montoya, everybody at Factory X, they had him as well prepared as they could have him. He didn't make any huge tactical errors. He was aggressive at times. He did the best he could. He was just outmatched by one of the greatest of all time. So we're going to have to see who can take out Jon Jones. I don't see anyone much on the horizon. DC would be, obviously, that's the big money fight to make. But all this new crop Johnny Walker, Thiago Santos. I don't see anybody who has necessarily the strategy to beat him right now, because right now he's looking good. So that was it, UFC 235. If you enjoy it, please like and subscribe, and I'll keep doing these. I'm off the radar for the next week or so because I got to drive literally all the way across the country with 2 dogs. So I'm not going to be on much, but when I do, I'll be back breaking down the next fight. Enjoy, all right, and I'll see you soon.